I make no apology for what I'm about to show you, but be aware that what you're about to see really should fill you with a sense of existential dread. So,
Republican and Democrat kiddies cannot agree on what should be funded. Democrat kiddies want you to have health care. Republican kiddies do not. Republican kiddies control the Senate, House, and the White House, so they're using that to cut your health care and give money to billionaires. Democrat kitty tries to negotiate, but Republican kitty keeps running away. He has a vacation to get to. Uh-oh, suddenly the money you pay for your health insurance has tripled. Thanks, Republicans.
That is, from what I can tell, from the official Democrat account. Now, be you aware that I'm taking that with a pinch of salt because it only has the blue check mark rather than the more, prominent orange, yellow, or, grey one to identify people more significantly, but it has 2.4 million followers, and Democrats who are fighting for a better, fairer, and brighter future for every American. And this is how we explain the government shutdown in America. Holy shit. I have spoken at length previously about the need for more education around topics of philosophy and governance in schooling to teach people to be better voters so that they can adequately and effectively engage with the topics and questions that they are supposed to be resolving with their vote. This indicates that we are fucking doomed. That democracy is fucking over. That the entire beautiful experiment was literally consigned to abject failure from the very first moment we tried. Because if this is how we speak to the voter now, if this is how we educate the voter on why, say, the government is shutting down, if this is the level we have arrived with at the average Zoomer, God, our entire system of government was clearly a massive mistake. Self-evidently, the entire idea of allowing the masses to self-govern was a catastrophic error. Me. Okay, so on a slightly more serious note, the government shutdown in the US. By the way, the US is like the only country, only civilized country more correctly, that even does this stuff, where every single period there is a massive fight over the budget to the point where the government just kind of dies for usually a few days, maybe a couple of weeks at most, until both parties then finally hammer out an agreement, right? Now, the disagreement right now is rather significant, in that the Democrats wish to extend the Affordable Care Act, which the Democrats very much so disagree with because, well, they assess that it's going to cost something like $1 trillion over the course of the next couple decades, which America can't really afford. America, to put it quite simply, cannot afford public healthcare. And thus the kitty going, the Democrats really just want you to have healthcare. And those evil American Republicans, they hate you. And they want you to not have healthcare. That's actually to your benefit. See, okay. I am a proponent of public healthcare. It has done wonderful things for Norway, for example, and in the long run, if properly applied, it will actually see an increase in productivity by maintaining a larger percentage of the population in productive labor. However, it is also pretty much the single most expensive thing any nation can do ever. And if you are not willing to pay at least 50% of your income in taxes, it's just not going to happen. It is just not going to happen. Simple as that. You can't afford it. England can't afford it. Norway can only afford it because we're spending a lot of money from our oil income, and because there's like 5 million of us. Even more so, it's 5 million people who believe hard work to be a virtue, and for 5 million people who think that going on public welfare is shameful. Not to mention, we lack the obesity pandemic of the United States. The US can't afford healthcare. It simply isn't doable. And I love this part too. Our Republicans wants to cut in healthcare so they can give the money to the billionaires. Whereas the Democrats simply just want to burn it in an unending pyre to feed the never-ending spiral of costs that is public healthcare, as the NHS has demonstrated very, very thoroughly over the course of its entire existence. There's also other disagreements about Trump wants to cut foreign aid, for example, even foreign aid that had already been accepted in previous budgets, which, yeah, no, go ahead, fucking do it, okay? America is already so much in debt that it probably can't dig its way out of it ever. It is in all due likelihood a literal impossibility at this point, but unless you want it to be a guaranteed impossibility and a major strategic weakness, you are going to have to make at least some attempts at doing so, as right now, America as a nation simply continues to exist on the assumption that nobody will ever call in its debts. For if they did, America would only have two choices. Either create for itself inflation that would make Weimar Germany look like fucking paradise, furthering the problem in all due likelihood, or simply declare war on the world. Not necessarily the most appealing options, is it? Yeah, it would complicate matters quite significantly. Even if you think the US could take on the world, then, honestly, maybe could. But then again, America has also demonstrated repeatedly a complete and utter inability to actually hold any territory it attempts to capture, with the sort of kind of exception of Hawaii and the Philippines, I guess. But, oh god. To spiral back to the more important point here, right. If this is necessary, there's something to, right, the argument is, of course, this is partially a meme. I assume this is at least in part a fucking idiotic joke, but it's 1.6 million views. And granted, a lot of them are commentating like, wow, you are literally the party of brain-damaged infants. And yes, they pretty much are, as the entire idea of, hey, you can just vote yourself infinite privileges is really an argument that only works until you've reached a certain age and you've paid your first couple of years of taxes. But again, regardless, if this is actually the level of political dialogue that we are heading towards, if this is how we need to explain politics to today's youth, we might as well just take away their right to vote right now. We might as well just deny them the franchise outright. Why not? Would it worsen the situation? Not noticeably, I don't think. If they already aren't interested enough in politics to understand what a shutdown of the government means, are we missing anything by simply just denying them the privilege to vote forever? I'm not so sure. I really am not. Like, this is perhaps the single most convincing argument I have ever seen for just fucking monarchy. At least at the moment, it's just the Democrat. But the moment the Republicans start appealing to the same demographic in the same way, I'm all for simply declaring the entire fucking experiment to be done with. And we'll just go back to feudalism for a few thousand years. Hey, it worked out really goddamn well the first time we tried it. It kept Europe stable for a very long time. And hey, the peasants paid a heck of a lot of less taxes as well, and worked fewer hours too. But the more and more I think about it, fuck democracy, let's go back to feudalism. At least it didn't produce this. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Arch. Have a good day.